O mighty Soul King, I beseech you, give me the power of the devil's music. Rock and roll! Let me completely shred these chords, mighty Soul King! Om! Hey guys, how you doing? Sorry, I have this ritual I do every Wednesday at exactly 2:51 p.m. I've been doing it for a few years now. Has it really yielded any results? Well, not that I could see, but that's no reason to stop doing it, right? Okay, I'm just gonna take this off now. Hey, how you doing? Halloween's right around the corner here, alright? So I wanted to do something else kind of spooky related to One Piece. And I'm like, well, alright, we already did Horroween last 2 years, and we already did, Geography is Everything on Thriller Bark, so I'm like, man, is there anything else in One Piece that's kind of spooky, creepy, kind of eerie that I can delve into? And, I thought for a moment, and of course everything comes back to Brook, because he's a walking, talking, rockin' skeleton, right? And I'm thinking, what about that first island? The one he got sent to by Kuma, not, Kenzen Island, where he ended up, training for the 2-year time skip, as the Soul King with the Long Arm tribe. What about that first island he got sent to, right? The one that we don't really address that much. He was there for a little while and immediately got kidnapped by the Long Arms, pretty much. What about that place? So yes, today's video will be about the land of Hungaria, not to be confused with Hungary, with the capital of Budapest. Is it Budapest with a T at the end, or just Budapest? Yeah, not sure. I've actually heard it pronounced both ways. But no, this is the Lazy Bones Island. Namakura Island was the name of it. I looked into the name itself. It didn't use any kanji. It was just written in katakana as Namakura. Nama can mean any number of things. It can mean, like, inexperienced. It can also mean, like, unpolished. But there's just so many words relating to Nama. Unless I have a kanji to go on here, I can't really jump off of anything. But in the English translations, anyway, it's translated to Lazy Bones Island. And the Hungaria Kingdom is the land of poverty. So you could already kind of figure where we're going with this, Okay, the country is literally, the kingdom itself is the land of poverty. They're not going to be doing too well. There's going to be, this is the real terror, all right? The terror is not with the spooky skeletons, it's the fact you don't have enough to eat every night, all right? So the way that this is handled is honestly going back and just rereading a little bit of, like, the manga, the cover story that Brook's in, because, it's expanded a little bit in the anime. A lot of the cover series with the Straw Hat separation was expanded in the anime a little bit, like the whole thing with Frankie landing at, the future land of Baltimore, the whole thing with him, having the tea inside of him instead of the cola and becoming an English gentleman. Yeah, that wasn't in the manga. In the manga, pretty much all we got were 2 panels each as part of the Straw Hat separation cover series, and, a little bit in the post-war arc, when the Straw Hats all read the newspaper about Ace's death and about the 3D2Y message. But even with Brooks, we don't really get much more stuff added in the anime. It's just a little bit more of like a meet and greet with the people on the island, and Brook talks to them a little bit more. We get to learn about the leader of the kingdom, so to speak, but beyond that, we don't really delve into anything else crazy, okay? It actually stays to the cover series pretty faithfully, okay? But with that being the case, alright, there's a lot of ruins. The buildings, which ones that are currently standing, are in ruins. They seem to have like a feudal Japan kind of architecture. They're built up on stilts, so maybe there's like a lot of flooding in the area whenever that happens. I know that especially like in the United States, in Louisiana, and places that are like in a low, level where flooding happens a lot, you can't actually build houses like with basements. You have to basically build up houses on stilts, or otherwise they're gonna flood. So yeah, maybe that might be the reason there. You see a lot of just grasslands and mountains in the distance, not a lot of towns, not a lot of cities, and this entire place, this little village, if you could even call it that, really, there's only seems to be like a dozen or so people living there. But then again, keep in mind, this place is ransacked by the Long Arm tribe quite a bit, so there are probably a lot more people living here before the Long Arm tribe came to town. But yeah, I'm assuming, considering it's called the land of poverty and it's Hungaria, that I'm assuming it's been like this for a very, very long time. So either the Long Arm tribe has been at this for generation after generation after generation, or there were always problems with this island in terms of, not having enough food to eat. but the people still choose to live there for whatever reason. I'm going to assume it's mostly the long arms. I'm thinking this is just one of the places where the long arms have been coming for maybe hundreds of years, okay? And this is just their hunting ground for, people to bring back to their island, Kenzen Island, okay? So anyway, the people there, as we find out later, it's actually kind of messed up, because we find out later that the reason why they allow the long arms to just come into their island and just take, their women and just beat them down and everything is because they've never actually tried to fight back. And that's the reason for the name of the island, Lazy Bones Island. They want somebody else to solve all their problems, so they don't actually try to fight back. In fact, they even make a mention that when Brook arrived and led them into the charge with his battle music, that was the first time they ever attempted to fight back. So, they're the entire time, the leader of this group, this village or cult, if we're being honest here, they all dress like this with cute little sheeps on their heads. So that's their deity. That's the idea of like the ultimate evil, the one, the devil, Satan, cute little adorable little sheepy sheep on top of this guy's head, right? That's their sacrificial altar. Okay. So it's more of leading a cult, but the leader, his name is Pecori. Pecora, I believe, is Italian for sheep, hence why the sheep head. So just Pecori. And so the way he explains it is like, okay, so here's the deal. The long-arm tribe started attacking us, right? So the first thing we thought of is just, to pray to God to help us. Well, nothing happened. So we started looking through the books and we started finding other gods to pray to, and nothing happened. And so then we started going back in time a little bit, delving into ruins and things and trying to find, okay, this is a god that hasn't been worshipped in hundreds of years. Maybe he could help us out. Pray to that god. Nothing happened. So it's like, man, we're running out of ideas here, right? So they finally just resort to all right, screw it. We're just going to delve into the darkest magic we can find, and we're just going to summon Satan. And hopefully he could be able to help us out, all right? So one dark and stormy night on Namakura Island, which that kind of sets the scene for Halloween, right? It's a stormy backdrop. Lightning is crashing in the distance. The wind is howling. The rain's coming down. There's this ramshackled old village and this little creaky hut where all of the cult members have gathered, and they got this giant, reverse pentagram right in the center, which, by the way, I wouldn't look too much into, the imagery here, because, like I said, a lot of this is anime only, and, right here, I understand that when you're talking about images like pentagrams and hexagrams and stuff, it can get rather confusing, because, so many different, in terms of, the world of fiction, they've used these things probably incorrectly for years. It's kind of the same thing with the tarot, how it's like, oh, you have the death card in the tarot, that means you're going to die, whoa, spooky death card, so there's references to Celtic mythology, and there's Wicca and everything thrown in here, and they're just conflating it all to be satanic, alright? So I understand that if you take a pentagram as if it's depicted here, and you reverse that so there's 2 points that are facing up, that is considered to be, evil, and the way that, I'm just taking this right off of Wikipedia to be honest with you, but the way this says it is, a reverse pentagram with 2 points projecting upwards is a symbol of evil and attracts sinister forces because it overturns the proper order of things and demonstrates the triumph of matter over spirit. It is the goat of lust attacking the heavens with its horns, a sign excretiated by the initiates. Okay, so the only reason I brought that up was because the fact, the horns of lust, or the goat of lust, the fact that they worship clearly some sort of sheep deity, I thought I should bring that up as reference. But, under normals, it's in a square here in this kind of circle, so that's unusual. I've never seen the pentagram either upside down or, right side up inside of a square. It's usually inside of a circle, and the overarching thing is inside of 2 squares that are angled differently. Kind of reminds me of the spellbinding circle a little bit from Yu-Gi-Oh, just the basic layout and all that script. I was looking, because keep in mind, I think what the anime department really did here, honestly, was because Oda wasn't really involved with a lot of this extra stuff, is I think they basically just went to the animation department and were like, okay, just throw a bunch of random shit in the background to make it look like a satanic cult, basically. And then people were like, oh, okay, so we're gonna have a lot of 5-pointed stars, a lot of like 6-pointed stars, 7-pointed stars, skulls. You gotta have skulls if you're talking about Satan. Let's just take a bunch of random symbols from random places. Doesn't really matter if they connect back to Satanism or the occult at all. Let's just throw Rome in the background. Like, what's going to happen from now? Like, 10 years after this episode airs, somebody's gonna get on YouTube and analyze the random scripture in this anime-only episode about Brooke being sent to an island filled with a bunch of sheep worshippers? Yeah, who'd have think that something like that would happen? That's very unlikely. But no, I was looking at all of the symbols just to see if there was anything that I recognized, and there actually were a few. So first off, there are a few English letters here. I notice an R. Sometimes it's like reversed, other times it's right side. There's an M there, or a W, depending on the way you're looking at it, I guess. There's a Z, there's a J. There's a symbol that kind of looks like the katakana for te. The bottom line is not curved as in te, but it looks similar enough, I guess. There's just some random triangles scattered in there. There's what looks like the symbol for Pluto, in Roman mythology, as in Pluto or Hades, the lord of the underworld. So that's an interesting little thing to throw in there, considering they're trying to, contact the land of the dead and summon Satan, or, hell and the underworld are not really the same place. But I see what they're doing there. Land of the dead, and they summon Brooke, who is a skeleton, all right? So that was something interesting they threw in there. What else do we got? We got something that looks kind of like a reversed S. Just some circles. I was thinking maybe this symbol was the symbol for the sun, considering we had Pluto. Maybe that's the symbol for the sun. But the most interesting out of all of these... Oh, and one more. There's a symbol that it's really not looking like the symbol for Aries, but Aries is the ram in the zodiac, and considering that, the Aries symbol is this, and the symbol here is this... Like I said, it looks more like a U, not really more like, the Aries symbol, but I thought I would throw out the similarity because they are worshiping, like, rams or goats and sheep, something, like, related to that, okay? But the most interesting one I've noticed is this symbol, okay? This symbol, it's angled at a wrong angle, but if you were to turn it, it's actually the runic equivalent of the letter D. Yeah. When I was in middle school, I had a book about Vikings, and it had a very simplistic runic alphabet at the end of the book. And I was really interested in the runic alphabet when I was, like, in middle school, and I would, like, copy it down and stuff. So I remember that symbol. If you just turn that, it's a D. And I'm just saying, out of all of the random symbols you could find in books, because, if that's, like, if you're for, like, the anime department and you're working on One Piece and it's just, like, just fill out the symbol with a bunch of random symbols. They don't have to make sense. Use random, just throw triangles and squares in there, and random stars if you have to, If you just give somebody, like, a book on symbology and you just turn and be like, all right, that's, let's see, well, there's the, Roman symbols for the planets there. Oh, throw in the elven star. That looks pretty cool. Throw that in there. Does it have connect back to Satan? No, it doesn't. It's fine. Just throw it in there. It's cool. Oh, that looks cool. That, just, oh, wow, that looks really evil. What the hell was that? Oh my god. No. Whoa. I just saw something in here that was, like, really badass. What page was that on? Okay, this run, it's in the pentagram section, but look at that. Look at that symbol. Like, that, they should have used that symbol in the freaking anime. That looks badass. That looks straight up demonic. All right, you see that. If you walk into, that's like in a creepy horror movie, as opposed to a not creepy horror movie. Well, okay, actually, there are a few of those, actually. There are a few horror movies that aren't very good at being creepy, but it's like you walk into an old house and you go down in the basement and you see that painted on the wall in blood. You turn and run away, right? That's pretty scary, right? By the way, I wanted to bring up, I think the reference to the goat and, that being a reference to Satan or the devil, I think that comes from Baphomet, if I'm not mistaken, because Baphomet was the being that kind of had the head of a goat in the legs, and that kind of is equated a lot of times to the devil. I remember one time in The Simpsons when they depicted the devil, it was Flanders, and he had goat legs. So I think that's kind of gets mixed in, like, oh, Baphomet, and just take aspects of him and throw them into, like, aspects for the Satan and devil. So that's crazy. But yeah, so yeah, that's just the pentagram I was looking at, just some interesting symbols. But the fact that they put runic for D, if that was what that is, the D, maybe the D stands for devil or demon or demonic. That's what it stood for the whole time. So, I don't know, we'll see where that goes. Hang on a second, I'm gonna put a frog on my head. But anyway, so, they decide to summon Satan. Okay, and so they all get together one night, and the storm is raging, and they're all like praising him. And then right at that moment, in the anime, it looks like lightning strikes it. So I imagine at the exact same instance that Brooke got landed on the island by Kuma's bubble, lightning struck at the exact same instant. Blew a hole in the roof of this place as Brooke crashed down right in the center of the summoning circle, whatever you want to call it. And then Brooke, in the anime, he has this weird purple aura coming off of him. He's and everybody in the crowd is like, holy crap, it actually worked! I love the reaction look at this dude. This dude right there looks like he just dropped his fudge. He's like, that guy doesn't even look like he was here normally. That guy looks like he was just roped into this, like, hey, Bill, come on down to the old sacrificial hut this Friday. We're gonna try to summon Satan. Maybe he'll stop those long arms, from stealing our wives and our daughters and everything. And Bill's like, I don't know about this. Bill's just he's just the local blacksmith or something. He's just like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that devilry, guys. It's like, no, come on down. Honestly, I'll be straight with you, Bill. Nothing ever happens. We do this every Friday night, and nothing ever happens. It's just a good time to get together and take our minds off the fact that we're all horribly starving. We are slowly starving to death. It's just something that it's good. It's community theater, if nothing else. Bill's like, oh, okay, I guess. And so he goes down and they give him the cloak and the beads, and he's just like, all right, put this sheep on your head. I'm like, okay. And he's doing it and everything, and then all of a sudden, boom! Brooke just shows up, and he's like, holy crap, it actually worked, what? So, okay, now, considering these people have been attempting this for apparently a very long time, at least several months, if not years, and nothing ever happens, and something finally happens. They're like, okay, well, I guess one of these religions had to be true. I guess it turned out to be the one that had all right, fine, cool. So, now what do we do? He's like, well, I guess we ask him to curse the Long Arm tribe, I suppose. Brooke, he's a little dazed when he crashes down. He kind of gets up and he's like, I have to get back to my friends, what? And they're like, oh no, Lord Satan, please don't leave us. It's also really sad when you think about it. Brooke was a member of the Straw Hats for what was that, like a couple of weeks at best? From the time they leave Thriller Bark, from the time that Brooks joins to the time that Kuma separates everybody, that couldn't have been more than a few weeks at most, because they travel from Thriller Bark. There's some weather patterns they encounter and stuff. I think that's like when it started to rain candy and there was like that weird rainbow in the sky, and then they run into Duval's base and everything, and they do the stuff with Duval, but then they go to Sabaody like right after that, and they don't spend, it's not like they spend days on Sabaody. I think they only spend one day on Sabaody, and at the end of that day is when they got separated at sunset, right? So Brooke has only been a member for at the least only like, I don't know, a few days, less than a week, at most maybe a few weeks, but that's it, right? That's it. And he gets separated and he lands, but he's very loyal to Luffy and everybody. He's like, I still have to go and see my friends. I've only known them for a week, but they're awesome, so I have to get back to them. The people, there's a little bit of a miscommunication issue here, because they think that he's talking about leaving them, going back to the land of the dead, like Hades or whatever, or hell, or wherever they thought they were summoning him from, right? And so, Brooke being Brooke, he just kind of like, wait a second, where am I? He just kind of takes a look around the area, sees all these people, dressed in cloaks and like, weird sheep, visages everywhere, and he's just like, oh, this is a strange place. And then he spies a woman in the back, a blonde girl, and I don't believe we ever find out her name. I think Pekori is the only one we ever find out whose name is. And Brooke, of course, being Brooke, the first thing he asks is, oh, my young lass, can I see your panties? And everyone immediately is like, he needs to see underwear! Show the Lord your underwear! For the love of, we need to keep him here at all costs! Show him your underwear, ladies and gentlemen! Here! And so every man starts showing their boxers. I mean, they all prefer boxers in the land of Hungaria. So that was a question that I was curious about. Of course, when Brooke first landed there, I'm like, what preference of underwear? I need to know. But no, it's boxers. And apparently, despite the fact it's a very poor island, apparently the tailor does really well, because there's really, like, they're all heart design boxers and everything. You know, they're not like torn or anything. They look like top quality Calvin Klein boxers, if you ask me, right? That's some quality stitch work right there. What's funny is we never see what, like, the woman never shows her panties. It's all the guys that show them their underwear, because they're like, oh, underwear. He asks for sacrifices. We were prepared to, like, do like a bloodletting thing, but it's, oh, we're like sacrifice a goat or something. But no. You want to see underwear? All right, here you go. So Brooke is like, I am lost in a sea of underwear, Luffy. I shall return someday, though. In the dub, it's hilarious. Ian Sinclair does this hilarious thing with Brooke, where they are panning out of the hut, and Brooke's like, I don't need to see any guy panties. Wow. Like, I don't think that's in the original Japanese. Ian is just having fun with it, where he's like, I don't need to see any man panties. Whoa. And we don't get to see what Brooke saw, but nevertheless, I feel like it was somewhat impressive, okay? So, Brooke spends the night in the hut, and he wakens the next day, and the sun is out and everything, and he comes outside, and he's looking around the island, and he's like, yeah, this place is not looking too good, you know, it's looking pretty beat up. Peccary and the other cultists come up and give him breakfast, which is basically all the food they had for like a week. They don't tell Brooke this, though. They still think he's the devil, so he eats the food, and he's like, oh, well, thank you for the delicious meal, that was awesome. But they're all like, then that's when Peccary explains the whole issue. It's just like, this land, it's the land of poverty, man, like, freaking long-arm tribes come in here and they just beat us down and they destroy our buildings and they take what little food we have and they steal our women, and it's just like, that's been going on forever, and that's why we summoned you, Brooke, or Lord Satan, you know, whatever, that's why we summoned you. Oh man, they could have summoned Mr. Satan from Dragon Ball Z. That would have solved, and they both have afros, that would have both solved their problems, right? But no, so yeah, they give Brooke this long story about how we've basically tried nothing and we're all out of ideas, you know, like we've just, you know, been chanting and hoping something happened, and something finally happened, right? So Brooke is like, oh, okay, so Brooke starts to work. The long arms come to town, they kidnap the blonde hair girl, and they're all like, go and attack them, you know, and Brooke's like, what, huh? And the long arms run off before Brooke can even realize what's going on. They still believe in him, though. So Brooke is like, all right, tell you what, I will help these citizens out. They helped me, you know, they gave me a place to stay, they gave me some what little food they have, I have to pay them back for that. Brooke's a good guy. So the first thing he does is he goes back in the hut and begins composing a song, because he's a musician. That's what he does. He emerges a few hours later with this big stack of, musical sheets, and he hands them over to Peccary, and he's like, here you go. And Peccary's like, these are talismans to ward away the evil long arms. Tack them all over the village. And Brooke's like, no, it's a battle song, okay? It's supposed to invigorate. Hold on. So Brooke takes out his violin. And this is actually really cool. This is a scene, now we've seen this before pre-time skip, where Brooke's music can actually affect people's, state of being. Like when they were fighting against the Flying Fish Riders, Brooke used that lullaby song, and it just like Song of the Lullaby or whatever, and then all of the Flying Fish Riders immediately got conked out. So that gave us a hint early on in the story that, early on in Brooke's development, like his music is more than just actual music. Like there's something else going on here. After the time skip, where it's revealed that no, it's like he's actually channeling his soul through his music that can actually affect people. Like at Fishman Island when he was doing the festival song, and he could replicate the feeling of being drunk just through music, and he can make people see illusions with his songs, okay? So this was something that cool that we saw early on, where Brooke plays this kind of battle song on his violin, and that invigorates all of the members of the island to stand up for themselves. Not unsimilar to Bello Betty's Cheer Fruit. Except with the situation with Bello Betty, I think it actually gave them, like, real power. Like it caused an adrenaline rush or something. With Brooke, I think it's just altering their mindset a little bit to be like, hey, yeah, that's this music. It's making us feel like we should, like, fight for what's ours. Yeah, let's do this. So they all pick up like farm equipment or whatever. Actually, the Revolutionary Army, they could have, I mean, it's not the pirates that are causing problems, it's the Long Arm tribe, but still, Long Arm tribe is kind of like pirates in this case. So the Revolutionary Army and Bello Betty could have helped them out, but Brooke helped them out too. So they're like, yeah, I'm feeling this music, Brooke, I'm feeling the groove. And keep in mind, this was also before Brooke really learned about the true power of his Yomi Yomi no Mi, right? So it's probably not, like, if he tried this now, maybe it would give them like the actual power boost like Bello Betty's fruit did, right? So it's invigorating their souls, though. It's getting them to rise up, so they pick up weapons and they all charge at the Long Arm attack. And then it cuts to like after the battle. We don't actually get to see the battle. Cuts to after the battle where the Long Arms are all caged up and Brooke's there, and the citizens, they're beaten, they're bruised a little bit, but they're all okay. They managed to get back all of their women and all the men that the Long Arms stole from them. And Peccary mentions, is like, well, you know, you're the one that actually did most of the work, Lord Satan, Brooke. You know, you're the one that actually did most of the work there. But still, you know, we felt for the first time we actually stood up for what is ours. And you know what? This is actually a part in the episode that has a lot of like religious like symbolism and like allegory and stuff, where you have a moment where Brooke is kind of like preaching to these people, where he's standing amongst all of them and he's like, you know, remember, neither God nor devil will help those that are not willing to help themselves. You know, you have to, you know, you have to take action for yourself. If someone's going to attack, you can't just expect someone else to come and save you. You got to stand up for yourself. Okay, so that's kind of the lesson that Brooke is giving them. Something else he gives is that when the Long Arm tribe are kind of like in the cage, Peccary goes up to them and he's like, hey, we could probably make a lot of money off these people. They have those 2 joints and everything. We could like sell them out to like a freak show or something. We can make a lot of money. And Brooke is like, no, that's wrong. You can't do that. He's like, well, what should we do with them? Just leave them in this cage? And Brooke's like, no, you must let them go. You know, and that's the moment where you start to, okay, Brooke, I mean, I know you're not actually trying to be like a religious leader here. It's just sounding similar to things, but it's like, I don't know if that's the good idea to do that. It's like, well, what if we let them go? This is like the prisoner dilemma, you know, like in D&D. Like if you capture, it's like, what do? Do you just kill them? Well, I don't want to kill them. I'm lawful good. I wouldn't kill the orcs. It's just like, yeah, but if we don't, they're going to come back and kill us. It's like, yeah, but I'm not doing that. It's like, we take them back to town. We can't take them back to town. It's too much of a ride and they're going to attack us along the way. So it's like this whole, you see, there's openings to this, you know, it gets more complicated as it goes. But Brooke basically says, oh, they're not going to do anything when you let them go. They're not going to come back because I'm going to curse them. So Brooke takes these 2 candles, puts them right up to his face. It makes it all creepy. And he's like, I curse you with the devil's glare. You shall never return to this island again, lest I consume your heart. And the Long Arms are like, oh, you know, and it's like, okay, so you're good now. And so he opens the gate and he like lets them go and he's like, all right, well, my work here is done. And then the Long Arms proceed to tie Brooke up and then run off to Kenzan Island, where they use him as an attraction for the walking, talking skeleton, and that's where the legend of the Soul King really begins. But I find that funny, because after the Long Arms get out of the cage and like, you're an idiot, that speech was stupid, you're clearly not the devil, we don't believe in the devil, we don't believe in curses, we're just going to use you as an attraction in our homeland. And so they kidnap Brooke, unfortunately. But the Soul King was born. And I love the reaction from the other, like, Peccary and the other members of the town after this happens. They're just like, oh, Lord Satan has been kidnapped! Prepare to summon another Lord Satan. We know devils are real now. There has to be more. There has to be like the Satan's cousin or something. Prepare to summon Beelzebub, you know, and they run back and they try it again. And I guess nothing happened. So didn't really learn their lesson at the end of the day, did they? Yeah, that's the weird thing with this little side story. It's just like, you think, all right, Brooke's gonna invigorate them with a battle song and they're gonna change their ways and stand up, and then like, no, they're just gonna go back to doing what they were normally doing up until this point. The country is still steeped in poverty. That didn't really change very much, and I don't know, I guess the Long Arms would still come back and mess with them. There's no reason for them not to, you know? I mean, they could stand up for themselves, but the Long Arms are clearly stronger, so yeah, I don't know what the lesson to take away from this story. Brooke is the devil. I guess that's the life lesson you could take from this, is that if you summon a devil and don't show him underwear. If the devil is summoned into your house, do not show him your panties, because it's like, don't give a mouse a cookie. It's just like, he'll never leave and he'll just want, it just leads into weirdness, okay, from that point onward, all right? So, yeah, not really sure where I was going with this, but hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great Halloween, everybody. I actually do have something else planned. Not Horroween this year. I couldn't really come up with any good ideas for it, but I do have a plan for Halloween, so we'll see if that pans out. Have a great night, everybody. This will be Tekking signing out. Ooh.